I'm really happy to be here. I'm really, really happy you are so numerous here for this last conference. You're not behind a beer. That's cool. Thank you very much. Just to begin, a friend of mine told me I had to have a dress code. So I get it. Well, so let's begin. Accessibility, a few words before beginning. Who knows or have already heard about accessibility? So much people, fantastic. Great. So we'll talk about accessibility of rich internet application and automating all that test of accessibility on such web applications. Let's begin. This is a simulation of what people with visual impairment, a website that a person with visual impairment could consult. So my question is, what is this website? What clues, what kind of information could you have to identify that website? Well, first of all, you see every text is in English, okay. Perhaps an international website. You get a list of countries, okay. You get on the left an empty zone, something that obviously information is missing. On the upper top of the screen, there is a blank zone where there is some information that is missing also here. And on the bottom part here, there is some text saying 500 picnics, party reports. Wow, what is it? Second kind of title, 500 pop-up store. What can be 500? What can be pop-up store? There are so much people for that picnic? Well, we don't know. Actually, this website has been chosen because with that simulation, you don't have any information to guess what is the identity of the website. Here is it. You see the difference. This is the actual real website. That's an old version. Of course, I've got nothing against that automotive constructor. Difference before, after. Before, after. The idea that what is missing here, the very first thing, the logo that identifies the website. If you don't have the logo, you don't know on where you are. You don't know at whom house you are. Second point, the navigation bar that lets you go inside the website, that enables you to go through the website, through the gallery, through the services proposed, and so on. You remember the list of countries? You got a title saying, choose a country. Okay, that's better when you say it, choose a country. And note, there is the button that is called Go. Go to the website of that country. For instance, France, Denmark, Czech Republic, and so on. On the right part, there is the gallery of all the vehicles. So that's kind of important for such a website. So this is the difference from without accessibility and with accessibility. Something quite important to note. The idea of web accessibility is not to have the information in a pixel-perfect way. That's not the purpose. The purpose is to have the information. Perhaps it is not pixel-perfect, but it doesn't matter. The main idea is to convey the information. Thus, we go to the main definition of accessibility, which is to provide information to all users, to any users, of course, including those ones with impairments. few words about benefits of accessibility before going deep into the subject. First, benefit, SEO, visibility, search engine optimization. If your website is accessible, then it is very, very, very well indexed by search engines. What for? What is the explanation? Google, as you may know, and Yahoo, and so on, and all these search engines are the internautes that have all the impairments someone can have. They don't have screen, they don't have mouse, they don't have keyboard, and so on. So if your website is accessible, it is more and more accessible to a search engine. Second benefit, user experience. If you set up accessibility for your website, you will see literally its quality going up, increasing the quality of your website. You won't have forms that are buggy, contact forms that may lead to some problem, to some error, pages that may lead to error 404, and so on. And last but not least, low compliance. As you may know, in Europe, and in fact all over the world, in each country there is a law, there is a legal requirement that says that roughly every public sector website, intranet, and so on, well, every web creation that is related to public sector must be accessible. The idea behind that is that as a public sector, you have a public mission to give information to, of course, all people with an equality notion of every people must be equal. So low compliance. Well, now go to the deep of the subject. So how to automate accessibility testing of rich internet application? First notion, what is accessibility testing? Before beginning, few ideas. What is accessibility testing? How would you do that? Yes. Two steps too early, but yes, great. Other ideas? How would you do accessibility testing? Okay. First of all, inspect the source code. You could inspect the source code. That's how we did it a few years ago. Here's a nice source code, isn't it? Well. Enjoying the source code, eh? Many errors, many colors, but a bit tedious. Another way to do. The toolbars. Toolbars, web developers, Firebug, that you know better than me, that you use 12 hours a day. You could inspect the code source with these two toolbars and say, this test is okay, this one is not, this test is okay, this one is maybe okay, we'll gotta go deeper, and so on. Other toolbar, the accessibility toolbar, that brings you efficient shortcuts to go to a direct test, but it's not enough. So you may use headings map to check the headings, the structure of the headings, the tags H1, H2, H3, and so on. And you may also use stylish. Stylish is used for the keyboard navigation, to test keyboard navigation when you put a specific focus on your cursor. And also WCAG contrast checker to check the contrast of color, the color of foreground and the color of background, to see if the text is actually readable or not. Well, these are a few toolbars, but there are so many toolbars you could use. So in fact, doing that on one page is okay, but after 10 pages, what is it? You're a bit angry. Okay, so bring the idea of automated accessibility testing. We could use some tools. Actually, it exists several tools, Wave, AMP, HERA, Okawa, Compliance Service for Questo, Tanago, and so on. perhaps there are others. These tools bring the notion of gathering into one tools many different tests that you could have in toolbar A, toolbar B, toolbar C, toolbar D, and so on. So with one tool, you may have all that tests that are in a common place. But listen to Richard. Before I'm involved in Talaguru. So I said, listen to Richard. I want freedom. Richard Stallman said, I want lib software, I want freedom. So what is the list remaining of tools remaining? These ones. Okay, 2 tools. Now remember we talked about rich internet application. What rich internet application has specific, has different from a website? Let's go to see it. First point, the notion of generated HTML. Generated HTML, generated by JavaScript, of course. So all of your HTML, I mean all of your HTML, may be generated by JavaScript. So if you do a CTRL-U and inspect the source code, you may have body/body, and all the HTML may be created by JavaScript. So that's a specificity of web applications. Second part, Ajax. Of course, with Ajax, you all know better than me, you have portions, parts of web pages that are refreshed with new content coming from the server without reloading the whole page. And also you may have significant part of the content of your page that may be reloaded, that may be changed, that may lead to the impression to the user that the page is totally new. And last thing that is, I think, something specific from the JavaScript framework is the notion of when you have one application, you may have only one single URL. All the application has got one single URL. That means all the screens, all the pages you think you're in front of are in fact on the same unique URL. So that is REA. Let's take an example, a real-life example. This is an AXTGS application. This one we had the opportunity to work on is from the French Ministry of Culture, and this web application is meant to deal with vocabularies. Vocabularies, concept, you know, a vocabulary gathers different concepts, and one concept is related to another one, and so on. And this application is meant to deal all of these kinds of ideas. So you see, this is actually a rich internet application with an F3 on the left part, on the upper part, buttons, menus, forms, and in the main part, different forms, different buttons, well, actions that the user could do. So just by seeing that screen, you understand that this is not a website. This is a real, actual web application. So how could we test the accessibility of such a web application, and how could we automate such testing? So this is the initial question, how to automate this testing. The idea is to use the notion of scenario audit. A scenario is kind of a recording of what a user can do within that web application. So with a part of Selenium that is called Selenium Builder, you will record all the actions the user will do inside the application, the web applications. So he will go to the login page, he will log in, he will create, let's say, create a vocabulary, then associate concept to the vocabulary, associate a concept with another concept, and so on. And let's say, delete a wrong concept that was created by someone else, and so on. And eventually, logging out. So this whole path is what we will record with the extension Selenium Builder. Selenium Builder gives you, as a result, as an output, a JSON file. And once you have your JSON file, you give it to Tanaguru that reinterpret and replays all of the actions from the server. Let's see examples. This is a screenshot of a Selenium Builder window. As you may see here, there are different kind of commands that are commands directly known from Selenium. These are Selenium commands that says open that URL, wait for text present, and for such information, for such text field, give such information on that text form, text field, give information, make a pause of 2000 milliseconds, and so on. This sequence of action is all recorded with this Selenium Builder. These informations are graphical. All of these is the result of what the user did with his mouse, his keyboard, and all is recorded. We said the result is a file, a JSON file, something like that. What you see here is the same one as previous, the example with in all JSON format information that were actually made by the user. As you may think, we have begun to create something of automating the path the user had into the application with the Selenium Builder. And this is the first step of automation. You record, for once, all the path, all the actions the user did. But when you see that kind of information, you can think, hey, I recorded it, but what if I could program it? What if programmatically I could write this kind of information directly? And yes, of course, you can directly produce that kind of test, of JSON file, programmatically. So you begin to touch the powerfulness of all automation we have with Selenium Builder. Once you have that JSON file made, you give it to Tanaguru. Tanaguru processes all the pages and gives you results with each kind of URLs. As you can see, this is an EXTJS with always the same URLs, but in fact, this is different pages, different screen, we'll say, with different scores. And you have the result of Tanaguru, the results of the actual test of accessibility that may look like for another site that is not so good. For example, 43% of accessibility of what is measured from an automatic point of view, with some graphs, some representation, and on the bottom of the screen, all the detailed results with the source line code, the exact errors, and so on. And once you've done all the accessibility corrections, you get something like that. You get your 100% that is done. Okay. And what remains? We did all what a tool could automate from the accessibility point of view about the test on the web app, on the web applications. But there is something else, something that remains. That part that remains is the area part. What is area? Area stands for Accessible Rich Internet Applications. Area is a superset of HTML. It is a superset of tags and of attributes that give information to the technologies, for instance, a screen reader, or for instance, a given software, a magnifying glass, for example. So information that are needed by the user to understand that, hey, that part of the website of my page has been reloaded. That part of the content has changed. So area gives information to that tools that that part has been changed. And for that part of testing, what we call pure area testing, you get today still to do it manually. Why? A few words about why we get to do it manually. Because area is quite young. Actually, there are no much more tutorials and documentation on area. By documentation, I mean real-life documentation. Of course, there is kind of a specification. The specification is from W3C. It is a fantastic lecture if you're boring on Sunday, of course. But real-life experimentations of real people is kind of young and a bit missing. So you get to make that kind of testing manually. So with that part, we've seen how we constructed the different steps to go to automate accessibility testing on the web applications. And we see the remaining part that is nowadays not yet automatable, which is the area run. To finish and to conclude, a few words about Tanaguru, that is a free software, AGPL, pure free, real free software. And if you like it, use it, talk about it, contribute. You're welcome. Thank you.